Now, let's tackle the second question. Can you have gold all by itself? Is that even possible? Nope, it's not possible. The gold itself is called the essence of gold, right? It can only exist within different objects. Can you find a chunk of gold that exists separately from everything else? Nope, not possible. So, what's the lesson here? Don't try to pluck Buddha nature out of the real world and keep it in a separate box for observation. It's like how gold is always found within different things made of gold. So, when it comes to practicing Buddhism, don't disconnect from the real world. The teachings of Buddhism are meant to be applied in the world, and enlightenment happens right here. You can't achieve true awakening by running away from the world. It's like trying to find horns on a rabbit, impossible. This is what Huineng realized and taught. If you're seeking a separate realm where your Buddha nature is waiting for you, it's like asking a rabbit to grow horns when rabbits only have ears. It's a simple analogy, but it carries a profound message with two meanings. First, you need to rise above the illusions and distractions of how things appear in the world. That's what we call transcending the worldly realm. But at the same time, you need to come back to the world. Just like the essence of gold is found within different objects, if you're seeking the essence of gold, you have to explore within each object as well. Let me put it another way. When we talk about practicing Zen Buddhism, what does that mean? It means we embrace our problems and see them as a path to enlightenment. Our problems themselves are actually a part of enlightenment. The world is full of challenges and obstacles, which is why it's often called a messy place. But we shouldn't push away or ignore these challenges because they come from our own minds. Without a mind, we wouldn't have problems, just physical pain. So, we can't reject our problems because they come from the same source as our wisdom, the mind. Basically, our minds can go in two directions. They can create problems or they can create wisdom. Both come from the mind. Our problems show the unlimited capacity of our minds. As Mencius had said about our mind, outside of the mind, there are no problems. So how do we practice? Troublesome thoughts become what for our cultivation? They are our materials. This is a very confident and courageous method of practice, called Zen Buddhism. We should not fear having troubles or reject them. Our mind should be as calm as water with not a single ripple. When the wind blows, the water naturally forms ripples. This is normal. Picture a body of water. When the wind blows, it creates patterns on the surface. Living in this world, how can you avoid encountering the wind? When the wind comes, the surface of the water is no longer still. This is what we call troubles arising. However, you should not let yourself be swept away by these troubles. Troubles are like waves. The body of water remains as water, rising and falling with the waves, but it does not increase or decrease in quantity. The surface of the ocean may be tumultuous every day, but does the overall volume of the ocean increase or decrease? It neither increases nor decreases. This is the essence of Zen. We are encouraged to embrace our troubles in order to cultivate our hearts, since troubles also arise from the heart. Zen Buddhism had some really amazing ideas, and the Confucian scholars of the Song and Ming dynasties saw its value and incorporated it into their own teachings. This gave birth to a fresh kind of Confucianism. They named it Cheng-Zhu Neo-Confucianism and the Lu-Wang School of Heart, you know? Cheng-Yi and Zhu Shi, both 12th century CE, were part of the Neo-Confucianism camp, while Lu Xiangshan and Wang Yangming belonged to the School of Heart. They took different approaches, which led to debates and disagreements between them. Even though they're different schools, the School of Cheng-Zhu and the School of Heart had a shared goal back in the Song and Ming dynasties. And what was that goal? Well, it can be summed up by Wang Yangming's famous saying, "Every one of us Chinese folks has these little bandits running around in our hearts." It's easy to get rid of bandits in the hills, but getting rid of the ones in our hearts? That's a whole different story. So, how do we actually get rid of these inner monsters? Lu Xiangshan and Wang Yangming, who were influenced by Zen Buddhism, had their own ideas. They believed that just like we use our minds to tackle our problems, we can also use our minds to conquer the thieves in our hearts. Alright, folks, that's the topic we'll be diving into this afternoon. We'll wrap things up here for this morning session. Alright, folks, let's kick off our afternoon class. We're circling back to the topic of the School of Heart. In the morning session, we tackled a couple of questions. What the heck is Chinese philosophy? And what's the deal with the School of Heart? First things first, we made it clear that the School of Heart isn't about studying hearts like doctors or psychologists do. We explained that the concept of heart that Mencius talked about can't be perfectly captured by the English words heart or mind. Instead, we stumbled upon a German word called Gemut that comes closer to it. We acknowledge that this heart does exist, but the tricky part is, we often lose touch with it and need to try to get it back. Mencius called this whole process the path of learning. And you know what? That path is all about finding inner peace. But here's the thing, folks, losing that inner peace, it can happen in the blink of an eye, and it's just a natural part of life. Think about it like this. When we come into this world, we're all about that childhood wonder and innocence. We call it having a childlike heart. It's just a natural part of who we are. But as time goes by, that childlike heart tends to fade away. We grow up, we mature, and that innocent spark dwindles. We start realizing that in this world, we gotta look out for ourselves and try to get ahead while avoiding trouble. It's like we enter this whole utilitarian realm of life. And here's the kicker, it's in this realm that we lose touch with our true selves, that childlike heart we once had. But you know what else? This whole process also brings about a sense of unease, a feeling that something's not quite right in our lives. You know that saying among the Chinese folks? You're not a real grown-up until you're stressed out, and once you're a grown-up, you lose that carefree vibe. Well, that's exactly what's happening. We're teaching the next generation to be on edge right from the start, the sooner, the better. We're throwing arithmetic and even some English lessons at them in kindergarten. And by the time they hit primary school, they're already competing in intense math contests. Heck, it's even cooler if the kindergarten is bilingual, teaching both Chinese and English together. We're pushing our kids onto the stage of life's competition at such a young age, making sure they understand the wins and losses and how their future rides on what they know, what they've experienced, and what skills they have. Trying to find that lost spark and bring it back. Man, it's a real tough challenge. It's when they hit their 30s that the post-80s crew began to question everything, and now they're taking a good hard look at their own values. There's this movie called To Our Youth that is fading away, where they're reminiscing about their wild youth and doing some serious soul-searching. As parents of the post-80s generation, us post-50s folks have a big responsibility towards them, like a debt we owe them in terms of their emotional well-being. I really feel that, you know. Nowadays, I can have these deep, philosophical talks with my kid because that's what they need. The path to wisdom is basically all about finding peace of mind. And let me tell you, reclaiming that lost spark is crucial if you want to find inner peace and live a life that's truly meaningful. It's not that our next generation lack knowledge, skills, or even the ability to think logically and use symbols. What they're really missing is having a solid foundation of beliefs about life. Some folks say that the post-90s generation is brainless. Well, let me tell you, it's not them who are lacking brains, it's me. I can't even figure out how to use this darn smartphone properly or download an app. I have to go begging the post-90s generation for help because I'm so out of touch. That's what being brainless is, but I am not missing something in heart. Their brains surely are not lacking, it's their hearts that are missing something. That's why universities need to step up their game and offer courses in humanities education. The focus of popular education should be about cultivating a sense of humanity. When Huineng first met Master Hongren, he traveled north all the way from Guangdong to Hubei and arrived at Dongchan Temple in Huangmei County. Master Hongren welcomed him and wasted no time in asking, "Where are you from? What do you want?" Huineng didn't hold back and replied, "I'm from the south and I'm here to learn about the Buddha's teachings." Master Hongren then goes, "Ah, so you're a southern barbarian. You see, people from the central region used to look down on folks from the south and call them barbarians, thinking they were uncivilized." Master Hongren then says, "As a barbarian, how can you understand the Buddha's teachings?" Without skipping a beat, Huineng shoots back, "Sure, people can be divided into north and south, but the nature of the Buddha doesn't have those distinctions." As soon as those words came out, Master Hongren had a clear understanding in his heart that this so-called barbarian had incredible potential. The potential he's talking about is the root of wisdom. Someone like Huineng is the perfect fit for receiving and carrying forward the teachings of the Buddha. Yeah, the whole idea of the root of wisdom isn't really used these days. We've got this new concept called IQ, which is a way to measure intelligence using numbers. It's a fancy term from modern psychology. They measure it in IQ points, like a score. Here's the thing though, someone can have a high IQ but not be very wise, while someone else with a low IQ can actually be quite wise. So, which one is more important in the end? I was totally shocked when I heard about that incident at Fudan's medical school. I mean, I thought there must have been some serious beef between those two. But turns out, it was just some petty disagreements they had. It made me wonder, how did it escalate to that point? My first thought was, the guy who put poison in his classmate's drink must have never read any epic novels or tragic stories growing up. His mind was never opened up, his soul never got a good cleanse, and he clearly doesn't value life. Now, his IQ ain't likely low. I mean, come on, it's not easy to get into Fudan University, right? And he was about to start a freaking PhD program at Fudan Med School, skipping the master's degree altogether. He had to be a smart cookie. So, what's missing? His root of wisdom is lacking, man. At first, his parents were probably all proud, thinking their kid was on the fast track to success by getting into Fudan and all. But now, they must be questioning everything. Has their kid really achieved success? To all my buddies who are now parents themselves, I'm telling you, we gotta rethink how we define success for the next generation. What's the real standard we should be aiming for? Why bring up the School of Heart today? Let's face it, we older folks don't have much hope left. Our hopes lie with the post-80s, post-90s, and post-2000s generations. Mao Zedong was onto something when he said, "We have to admit, the world mainly belongs to them." Remember those words? Yeah, the world belongs to you, it's also ours in a way, but in the end, it's really yours. You young folks are full of life and energy, while we're just watching the sun set on our lives. We've been grinding for nearly 30 years since the start of reform and opening up. We wanted to escape poverty and make it big, right? But now, after all this time, what kind of society have we left for the next generation? Did we really do enough to help them find their place and build a sense of purpose as they grew up? Man, our education system is missing the most basic thing. We're all about chasing excellence, right? Well, there's actually a book called Excellence Without a Soul that hits the nail on the head. The former head honcho of Harvard College, after stepping down in 2006, took a whole year to write that book. It's all about Harvard's own self-reflection, titled Excellence Without a Soul: How a Great University Forgot Education. It really got me thinking that universities in mainland China need to seriously reflect on this too. Dude, let's talk about basic education for a second. Remember that crazy incident where a student from Fudan Medical School spiked his classmate's drink? Yeah, that's not Fudan's fault. It's about how messed up he was even before getting into Fudan. Our basic education system has some serious issues, man. Sometimes, it's too late for those remedial classes, you know? We all know what the teenage years are like, right? It's when our outlook on life and the world starts to shape up. So why not dive into some School of Heart classics? Start with Instructions for Practical Living, at least, and then check out Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. Those two books are a must-read, no doubt about it.